The Bible mentions the word mountains a lot, and every single time there's one common theme: God showed up. Today, that's what I'm talking about. One area that God showed up on a mountaintop. Let's go. Hey everyone, I'm Josh Golightly, and welcome to Welcome Life. We're here on this channel. I hope to teach you how to welcome a life different from the world. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button. That way you don't miss a video that I post every Tuesday and Friday. Today I want to talk to you about a subject on one mountaintop experience that took a huge sacrifice for someone. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Following Jesus requires sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. In this account, we talk about Abraham and Isaac. And if you haven't read the story, don't worry, I'm going to read the story for you. Turn with me to Genesis chapter 22. We're going to go from verses 1 through 8 to start with. And it says this. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said, "Abraham, here I am." He replied. Again, God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him two of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God told him about. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them went together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Abraham, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, I like this, so pay attention to this part. God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the two of them went on together. We're going to finish that account later, and trust me, I know, Abraham had more than just one son. But the reason why God mentions only one son here is because this was the one son that God promised that Abraham would create a nation out of with his wife Sarah. The first thing I want to tell you about in this story is that Abraham was obedient to God. Obedient to God. Having faith in Jesus requires us to be obedient. Just think about it. Abraham was sacrificing his only son just because God had told him to do so. That takes true faith in God. To think that, man, I may lose my son, but I'm going to obey God, knowing and believing that He will provide a way out. Not only believing that He will be the one to provide a way into what seems to be no way possible. I can't even imagine what may be going on in Abraham's mind right now. Fear of losing his son and trusting God. I'm leaning more towards the latter. I mean, if I had to sacrifice my kids, I would be terrified to do so. That's when we learn that being a true obedient of Jesus Christ, again, takes obedience. And it takes a willful obedience to make a willful sacrifice. Let me say it again. It takes a willful obedience to make a willful sacrifice. Jesus talks about this in Luke chapter 9, verse 23. Then he said to them all, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." We must start to take up our cross daily. Being willing to obey Christ, no matter the circumstance, and take up that sacrificial cross and daily follow Jesus, no matter the cost. Next in the story, we see the intervention that God does through Abraham's faith. We see that God comes through. Remember, you may feel tested. You may feel like you're going through a time that I don't think I can make this, God. But God will come through for you. It just takes you to have faith to push through the dark valley, to take up your cross and keep going, even when you think there isn't an end. Because in this story, while I keep reading, you'll find that even when you think there's impossible, God will come on that mountaintop and he will say, stop, stop. I am here and I am listening if you are willing to give me everything. We're going to continue verses 9 through 12. When they reached the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar, on the top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord came out to him from heaven. Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy. He said, do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham had that faith to not withhold Isaac from God. His only son, the one son that God had promised an heir, an entire nation from. You know who else sacrificed this one son? God. Jesus came down from heaven and he died to give us life. He sacrificed himself, and God was the one to sacrifice his own son. It takes us to have faith in God in order that knowing that he will provide. And that's when the intervention comes in. That's when the intervention comes into our lives to say, God, I may be on this mountain, but you're the one that put me there, and I'm going to have faith that you're going to see me through it. What are some sacrifices that you've had to make in your life? Was it a family member that rejected you because you chose to be a Christian? Was it a best friend that you thought would be there with you for everything? What is it? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be praying for you. It's not easy. I'm not saying it is. But trust me, God will be there with you every single step of the way. Let's finish this story. To finish it off, Genesis 22, 13 through 14. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Man, that probably took a load off of Abraham, knowing that God provided even when he was about to sacrifice his son. I mean, just picture it. He had the knife in his hand up and ready to kill his only son. And then God stopped. And then in the thicket, he sees a ram caught by his horns. He sees a ram and he's like, God, you provide it for me. You provide it. The Lord will always provide. Even when we think that we have gone too far away from God, even when we think that, God, you can't reach me where I'm at. I've done too many wrong things. People have rejected me. No one loves me. No one cares about me. Everyone just says bad things about me. God will provide, and he loves you so much, again, that he sent Jesus to die for you. If you want to truly live a life different from the world, you have to be willing to make those sacrifices for God, knowing that he will provide when you need it. Knowing that there is hope in the testing. Knowing that even though this mountaintop experience may be hard right now, God will get you through. Take a look back in your life, and I want you to think of times when you were on the mountain and you're like, God, I can't make it without your help. What were some ways that God got you through? I want to wrap it up like this. Romans 5:8 says this, but God demonstrates his love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit that one right there and watch another video there and there. Catch you later.